Part 2. Meeting the Boy. After exchanging her rather short business dress with a pair of dark purple pants, a red turtleneck, and a blazer in the same color as the trousers, Nathalie was now walking towards the young Crest's bedroom to wake him up and send him to get ready before he was supposed to come downstairs for breakfast. She knocked at the door and waited a moment, trying to avoid catching him in any compromising situation. He was, after all, a 13-year-old boy. Only as the second soft knock stayed unanswered too, she slowly opened the door and took a careful glimpse inside. She couldn't help but smile lovingly at the boy, who was lying crosswise on his back on top of the mattress, one foot hanging on the floor, the other standing on the rim of the bed, both arms spread widely. His head was turned to the left, and his mouth was halfway open, causing him to drool on the plush animal he was resting on. The assistant shook her head and stepped into the room. Coming to step in front of the young model, they gently lay her hand on his shoulder and called softly, "Adrian?" Nothing. She raised her voice a little and carefully shook him. "Adrian!" Still nothing. Nathalie sighed and sat down on the mattress, shaking him a little stronger. With a firm and loud voice, spoke directly into his ear. "Adrian!" He flinched and opened his eyes, staring at her in fear. "Sorry, Adrian, I didn't mean to startle you," she cooed, "but it's time for you to get up. I'm Nathalie, your father's new personal assistant and your new tutor. Do you have any special wishes for your breakfast?" The boy inhaled deeply, and then responded wearily. "I'm supposed to eat what father has the chef prepare for me. I don't get to make choices, but it's nice that you asked, Nathalie." He sighed and stretched with a yawn. Nathalie smiled at him sadly. Then a thought popped into her mind. With a mischievous grin, she suggested, "Well, as it's kind of special day, because it's my first, how about you tell me what you would like, and I try to convince your dad." The teenage boy beamed at her widely. "That would be so great, though he will never agree. It's so nice from you to even ask." Adrian blurted out and hugged her tightly, startling her with that emotional outburst. She hadn't allowed herself to feel any emotion for years now. "Well, I'll give it a try, okay?" she worded out with a loving smile and got to her feet. "Just go and get ready. I'll bring your father his breakfast, and then I'll be waiting for you in the dining room." The model nodded. "Thank you, Nathalie. Oh, and welcome to our house. I'm glad that you're here." The assistant gave him a quick nod and left the room to try and find the kitchen. Then she remembered that she hadn't asked Adrian what he would like for breakfast if Mr. Crest agreed. So she turned around and called for him again, wondering, Adrian, what would you like for breakfast if I managed to convince him?" He stuck his head out of the bathroom and explained happily, "I would love to have something sweet for a change, like nougat or chocolate croissants, or maybe even macarons." Nathalie chuckled. "Yeah, that's what I thought. I'll see what I can do." She sighed deeply and remembered the time when she had mainly lived off the same sweets that boy was craving. Times when she still was happy and thought but she pushed those thoughts away quickly. She was here to take care of Mr. Crest and Adrian, and not to linger in her own past and regret her actions back then. Working in this position was almost as if they were hers, the family she had been robbed of by the person she had trusted the most, who had taken her son and left without giving her the slightest chance to even fight for him. Nathalie fought back the tears and continued her way to find her way back to the kitchen and gather Gabriel's breakfast. As she carried it towards his office, she tried to gather all her courage so she would be able to ask for her boss's permission to let the boy have a sweet breakfast for once. She entered the room without knocking, taking a curious look around, as she hadn't seen her workplace for most of the time yet, to see the designer standing on a pedestal, working on a large tablet. "Your breakfast, sir," she said very quietly. "Thank you, Miss Encore." He nodded and turned his attention back to his designs. Then he noticed her standing there and looking at him. "Is there anything else, Miss Encore?" The young woman inhaled deeply and said with a firm voice, "I made a small mistake when I woke up Adrian, sir." "So?" He quirked an eyebrow. "What mistake?" "I, asked him what he would like for breakfast. He told me that you decided his meals, but he looked so sad that I said I would ask you if he could have something special for once. Just as a little treat for me because it's my first day, kind of an hello food." She gushed out rapidly. Gabriel was about to raise his voice and yell at her when he looked into her remorseful face and couldn't. He sighed, then answered, "I allow it for today, but, Nathalie, this is an exception. Don't ask me the same question again." She smiled at him blissfully as she muttered, "Of course not, sir. I'll keep that in mind, and thank you." He had again averted his focus back to his tablet, but when he heard her thank him and turned his head one more time to look at her, seeing that smile, he felt mesmerized, and at the same moment their eyes met. Both were now blushing deeply, yet they couldn't stop staring. Then Nathalie remembered that she had promised the boy a special breakfast and cleared her throat to utter, "Well, I'll tell the chef then." "Yeah," Gabriel agreed, his eyes still fixed on her full pink lips, wondering how it would feel to kiss them. He forced himself to look somewhere else as the young woman turned around and left the room.